Oh, I hate Twitter. I hate Twitter so much. Anyways, I was looking for a way to make parkour easier for all of us. Not recently. In 2016, actually. I was fooling around with a method of timing your jumps that involved a metronome. For fellows who don't know, a metronome is a device that makes a ticking, a beating sound at a constant rhythm to help you play music in time. It holds you to one speed, makes sure you don't speed up or slow down. I thought this could be useful in parkour. How? Look at these ugly jumps. Head hitters. These jumps are painful, and we don't care about their well-being. You have to jump at just about the last possible moment if you want to complete them. So what you can do with the metronome is find a rate at which it is beating where it is possible to press the sprint key in sync with one beat, and in sync with the next beat that arrives, you press the spacebar. So if the metronome is set to, say, 150 beats per minute, it sounds like this. You set yourself up on the block so that with any 2 consecutive beats, you can press sprint and then spacebar like this. The hardest part of this method is finding that perfect tempo, that beats per minute, that creates the right timing for the jump you're looking to perform. So let's start with something basic. The head hitters with 1 block of momentum. Running the full length of 1 block from the back, and then jumping at the last possible moment so as to jump the longest possible distance. How are we going to find this timing? Back in 2016, my methods were very rough. I would make a random ballpark guess of, let's go with 120 BPM, beats per minute. Quick explanation again, the meaning of beats per minute is exactly what the term sounds like. You will hear that ticking sound from the metronome 120 times in 1 minute, 120 beats in a minute. In other words, that's 2 beats per second. So with these simple mathematics, we figure that the time elapsed between pressing the sprint key and pressing the spacebar is 0.5 seconds with this BPM. Press sprint, 0.5 seconds pass, then you press spacebar, and the ticking sound of this metronome helps bind you to this constant timing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We were doing that random ballpark guess. We try the timing of 120 beats per minute, we try a few times, and we find that it makes us press the spacebar way too late. That 0.5 seconds gap between pressing sprint and the spacebar is too large. You've already run off the block before you can even press jump. So we need to increase the BPM, which in turn decreases the timing gap between which you will press sprint and space. Let's set the BPM to, say, 140 then. Run a few trials just to get a stable and consistent answer, and after many failed attempts, our answer seems to be a resounding, this is still too slow. We must increase the BPM again. Maybe we try 150, or 160, and you just keep tinkering around with a BPM like that, lowering it or increasing it based on your findings from the last tests, until you find one that gives you what seems to be the right timing for the jump. Eventually, through this trial and error type method, I came to a BPM of 164. This seemed to work reasonably well, but not as well as I had hoped. I thought that this method would be perfect, that we'd be approaching an almost 100% success rate with these jumps, given the metronome basically acting like a perfect AI doing the parkour for you. But it did not function that well. A lot of the times, this BPM and this metronome would fail me, and I'd fail the jump that this timing was set for. Maybe it was human error, my fault. Maybe I wasn't pressing sprint and space exactly in sync with the metronome. That was possible for sure, but I didn't think it was super likely, since I was in senior band for most of high school, so I'd learned to play in time, in sync, really well. I also am a big rhythm games enjoyer, Dance Dance Revolution, which is all about being in sync with the beat. I should have been good enough at this so that I wasn't failing these jumps based on my own inability to press buttons in sync with the metronome, especially because this jump I'm doing is pretty lenient in regards to the timing window you're allowed in which you can press the spacebar and succeed. So then I thought maybe my trial and error method was too rough. Yes, my BPM of 164 was functional, but maybe there was a whole range of BPMs that could be functional for this jump. You know, maybe like anything between 150 and 180 BPM could have worked. So what if there was a central value in that range that was the most perfect BPM for this jump? I thought I had found that with my trial and error method, but maybe not. So how could I find that central value? Fast forward to 2020. I'm sorry, but at least I found out that Minecraft operates on a timing system that uses what's called ticks. A tick is a unit of time. A tick occurs every 0.05 seconds. 20 ticks per second, 1200 ticks per minute. That's the same as 1200 BPM, by the way. We're going to relate BPM and ticks in a moment, you'll see. For now, just on a recent livestream that was turned into a video, I was informed that running the full length of a block from the back, as I've been trying to find the timing for, takes a total of 7 ticks. That is 0.05 seconds multiplied by 7 ticks, coming out to 0.35 seconds. That's how long it takes to run the full block's length. So that means we need to find a BPM where the gap between one beat and the next is equal to 0.35 seconds. How do we do this? Let me spare you the math. There's been a lot of boring math in this video so far. It's just 60 divided by 0.35. This gives us a BPM of 171.42. So my rough guess of 164 was close, but not quite close enough. And keep in mind, this formula would work for any jump where you know the amount of ticks you're running for. So say you have a setup where you run for 3 ticks and then want to jump, so that's 3 ticks, 0.15 seconds. You would take 60 divided by 0.15 to give you a BPM of 400. That sounds like a lot in comparison to what we've been talking about, but let's hear what 400 sounds like. Just like we did before, take any 2 consecutive beats and press sprint on the first and spacebar on the second. It doesn't seem so fast anymore. And so that's how you can always find the quote-unquote perfect BPM for any jump, but actually we may have to forget about all of this. No more need for this math, no more need for this metronome honestly. Why? Because even with the perfect central value BPM of 171.42, I found that it was still not very helpful for me in completing the jumps. I was maybe at 80% success rate with the metronome, whereas I can reach much higher without it, just by natural feel, by my years of practice. And I can go faster too, I can just keep running without stopping, rather than having to get all set up in the back of the block to do each jump. I don't know why this is. I feel like the metronome should have gotten me to a near 100% success rate. Is my math wrong? Is my methodology bad? If you think it is, please tell me, because I've been confused about this for a while, and if you find the answer, I'll be glad to hear it. But I think maybe my many years of practice with doing this jump timing naturally without the metronome is overriding the metronome, and I'm not actually always listening to it. I just go by the instinct and muscle memory that is so deeply ingrained in me instead. So maybe the metronome would be helpful for those who are just starting out with parkour, and they need it to guide them in learning the timing. I would warn against relying on it though to complete the jumps. That's not really learning how to do parkour. You should learn parkour for real in a natural way without the metronome. No training wheels. And you could, in good time, become like me, where you can manage the jumps better on your own without the metronome. The human brain is just that powerful, I guess. Well, even if my findings with the metronome turn out to be not so useful, I hope it shows how new things are being learned about parkour all the time, and new methods are always being developed. Even though I'm more distant from parkour than I used to be, I thought this could be something cool to show you. Okay, now it's time to stretch the video to 8 minutes. I hope you enjoy the rest of this nonsense.